Hello, welcome to Win Some Lose More. My name is Dieter Loosemore and you join me for a mechanisms video where I take you through some of the terms that we use for how games work, try and explain them and give some examples if it's one that sounds interesting to you. I've spent a couple of these looking at tile laying games and given a few different approaches to that mechanism, and I wanted to talk about another big one today that I've just called city building. Now I know that's a theme rather than a mechanism, but it's so common for the two in this instance to be intertwined so much. Yes, there are other ways to do city building, but what I'm going to be referring to today, other people might call adjacency scoring, but it's the idea that where in your city or castle or village or space station, whatever it is that you're building with these tiles, where they are matters. It's not so much the pattern building that things, it matters where you place them for the placement's sake, or like the polyomino we've spoken about before, where you are filling a space and it's how you fit them all in. This is, each tile is distinct. It doesn't have to be physically placed anywhere in particular, but how its power triggers or how its endgame scoring works is dependent on how its position is relative to others. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's start with a simpler example, possibly the most accessible one I know of. This is a game called Quadropolis from the company Days of Wonder. Lovely little game where it's a really clever drafting system, a table draft, where you place an arrow and it has a number on it on this grid of tiles that you're choosing from. And the number is how far into that row or column you're taking, but it also is then where on your grid you place it. That's a nice simple drafting system, but now where you place it, let's say, I want to get this right, residential tiles want to be near parks because people want nice places to visit. Shops, I think, want to be near shipyards so they can get their goods nice and easily. There's just these few different types of places, not too many, as I say, this is a more accessible one, and they score in and of themselves, how many you have, the configuration that they're in, some of the more pattern building type things, but relative to, do you have a civic building in each of your 4 quadrants to make all parts of the town feel as involved and important? I don't know what the theming is there, but there's these scoring mechanisms that require one thing to be near another thing for it to matter, for it to score. So that's possibly the simplest one I know of. There's just those 4 or 5 types, and how they relate to each other gives you extra points at the end of the game, nice and easy. Another one, between 2 castles of Madkin Ludwig, or its predecessor, between 2 cities, where you are doing actually a pick and pass draft. Again, a lot of these will have a drafting element at the beginning on how you choose your tile. So there's a pick and pass. So you have 7, I think it is, tiles, each with a different room on in your castle. You're building a castle this time rather than a city, but it's still called city building. And again, there's bedrooms, utility rooms, gardens and all this stuff. Nothing can go on top of a garden because it's open skies, you can't build on top of it. So there's some placement rules, but then it's within this hallway wants to be connected to this type of room and this type of room. Okay, so now it's about adjacency again, or within this grid of 3x3, do you have one each of the different types of buildings? What is it connected to? How does this, so again, it's that adjacency, geography, where it's placed in your grid, in your pattern. Similarly, fields of green or the space one, among the stars, there are ways of getting power or water, water in the fields of green one, where you need for fields to produce, they need to have water, so you need to have a water producing tile. I think it's one of the water towers or something, and then you can spend it if it's within 2 or 3 spaces of it. Similarly, power in among the stars, they're very similar games, just different theme. And so it's just a very simple way of addressing the where do you place it. For both scoring or powers, it will vary different things in different games, sorry. And I quite like it. It's a different kind of puzzle. Yes, I enjoy the visual spatial puzzle of how do these things all fit together or line up, and how do I use that to trigger it, but I like actually not thinking about that sometimes, getting a city building type game I've always wanted to try Suburbia. It's probably one of the more well-known ones, but it seems a bit more complex. And trying to figure out that puzzle of, yes, I want to take this thing, great. Actually, is that the most useful thing to take now? Because for that to matter, I need to have this thing. So do I go for that thing now, but then I don't want that because I'm surrounding this with this, and there's just this very simple but gets deeper and deeper puzzle as it goes along. So it scratches an itch for me sometimes. What do you think of city building games? What are your favourites? Is this something that interests you or not? I'd love to hear your comments down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you don't already, and hit the bell icon so you stay updated when I put new things. Do find me on social media. Just search Win Some Lose More, one of the usual places you'll find me. I'll be back again with another one of these very soon. I hope you'll join me for it. Thank you very much. That was City Building. I've been Dieter for Win Some Lose More. Bye.